Hello, hello. So,
would you like a cup of tea?
Yes, I'd love one.
Please.
It's about time I filmed my labour story because I'm currently 6 weeks postpartum and we haven't filmed anything yet. I've got everything wrote down in my notes, so I'm just going to go through everything, try and remember everything. Chris is around, so if he has anything to say at different parts of my little story, then hopefully he can give an input, but otherwise let's just go for it. It's probably going to be really chaotic because I'm downstairs, I've got a toddler and I've got a baby, but the baby's currently sleeping, so that is good. Anyway, speaking of baby, I haven't really announced his name. His name is Huxton, so I call him Huxy for short. That's really nice of you, Talia. Welcome to Mum Life. Okay, so yeah, his name is Huxton and we call him Huxy, so that is that. That is his name. Have you given her leaky tea?
No, they're the 6 month plus heavy flow ones, so you could drink it.
Alright. Where does the story start? On the... I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. Okay, so, Talia, I don't need this on. Okay, for a little bit. Okay. He was born on the 23rd of November 2024 and I was really worried because the day before I went into labour we had snow and I was like just basically praying that I wouldn't go into labour on that snowy day because the roads were just really bad and icy and I just didn't fancy my chances of being in labour whilst trying to get to hospital. The hospital was like 45 minutes away, so yeah, it was just, I didn't want that situation to happen. Thank you, Talia. That was on the Thursday. On the Friday, I can't remember exactly what time it was. I don't remember the exact time, but I basically was, hey! I was sat on the sofa, giving Talia the biggest cuddle, as if I knew something was gonna happen, and all of a sudden, I just felt wet, as if I'd weed, but I hadn't. And when I checked, I was wearing grey trackies at the time, and it was very obvious what happened. Now, my waters didn't break with Talia, so this was like a whole new experience for me. And I wasn't gonna message anyone or let anyone know I was in labour, but Chris was at work, and I messaged my friend, and I was like something's going on here, and I was like, I'm freaking out, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I basically just put a pad on and let that do its thing. And then it was like an hour later, I think, and I all of a sudden went to the toilet and like had like a bloody show, and I was like, okay, like things are happening, okay. And then messaged Chris and I was like, you don't have to come home, but just to let you know, I think it's time, like things are progressing, you know. When I went to the toilet to check again, I had what looked like a greeny type of colour on my pad. So I messaged my midwife after messaging my friend and was like, this is what's coming up, like should I be concerned? Like, I actually kind of thought I knew what it was, and I was right. It was meconium, and my midwife was like, right, you need to go to the hospital and get checked, just to first of all double check that it is meconium and to see what they say. But if it is meconium, then they're probably going to want to progress things even quicker, because like, I don't know, it turned out he needed to be out within like 24 hours or something because he had pooed inside me. Have I said this all right so far? That was on the Friday and I was just getting myself a little bit worked up.
Oh, you want to leave it?
I was convinced I was having, what did I say? I was having like a period pain, didn't I?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm having period pains, and even when we was in hospital and they were like you're gonna have your baby, I was like, no, it's just period pains. Like, I was just so in denial about it, and everyone was just laughing at me because they were like, this like hand, you're in labour. When I messaged you and was like, I've got a bloody show, like you had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
You were just so confused.
I was like, what's a bloody show? And then you didn't even tell me it was your waters that broke.
I didn't tell him my waters had broke, and then I think, did you just think that it was like bloody, like I was swearing, like?
No, I thought like, oh, maybe it's like the mucousy plug, something's come out. But I didn't realise it was your waters. And then when I got home, you was like, yeah, I'm just having these period pains. I was like, okay, you're in labour.
we gave Talia to my mum and went to hospital, and I think it was like 7 o'clock at this point. And then basically straight away the midwife said like he needs to be out, didn't they?
Was it 7?
It was something like that. It was fairly early.
I thought it was earlier than that.
Maybe it was like 5 or 6 then.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 5 because it would have been 17. That's where you're getting 7 from.
Maybe. But it was like straight away when the midwife was like, you're like, he needs to come out. It is meconium. He needs to come out within like 24 hours or something like that. So, just a summary, my labour was 15 hours long, 15 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. I'm just looking at my hospital notes, and my labour, so the duration of my first stage of birth was 13 hours 58 minutes. The second stage of my birth was 1 hour 8 minutes, and then the third stage was 2 minutes. So that must have been just getting the placenta out or something, I don't know. Which when I tell people, they're like, that's a long time, but to me that isn't, because my labour with Talia was like 56 hours, so 15 hours was nothing. It wasn't even a full day. I came out of my labour with a 2nd degree tear and a graze, which I feel like helped my recovery period as well, because I didn't have to have like loads of stitches, and like with Talia I had a episiotomy, so like they cut me, but like this time they didn't, and I literally just had like a 2nd degree tear and a graze, and I feel so happy about that for some reason. I need to have my hair. Hey,
oh, brother.
Basically gave me oxytocin. They gave that to me straight away.
I was thinking of the baby out.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it was 24 hours since my waters broke. My waters broke about 12 o'clock on the Friday. So he needed to be out by Saturday, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he came later than that. He was at 1:24 on Saturday.
Was it 10 to...
It was 10 to 12 on the Friday. Yeah. So anyway, they gave me oxytocin, which... I don't know, is that, I haven't actually googled whether that's an induced method.
I think so.
I think it is, because obviously like he needed to be out, and I had that and ended up contracting quite a lot. I wasn't really getting a break, so they...
Yeah, eventually they were just contraction. You weren't getting like a contraction, then a break, then a contraction. It was just contraction, contraction, contract on top of each other.
I remember more than what I remembered with Talia, but it was like 6 weeks ago, so I've forgotten. But I remember being sat on the toilet, and
we got stuck on there for an hour.
We got stuck. I got stuck on the toilet because I generally just wanted a wee, and I couldn't get off because the pains were so intense. They like brung like a portable not oxygen, gas and air thing, wasn't it? And gave it to me on the toilet. And I remember like further on in my labour, some midwife being like, why is there this in here? And it's because like I was just...
Yeah, they'd been looking for it, right?
They were looking for it, and it was just in the toilet, but it's because like I just couldn't, like it was just, yeah. So I think they gave me an injection, didn't they? To like calm it down, so I could get back into the room.
I don't know what the injection was.
No. It took me ages to dilate, which that happened with Talia as well actually,
yeah.
Like it took me a while. But I think the difference with this labour was when I went in, I wasn't even a centimetre, so I was literally starting from the beginning.
Yeah, and it had been 5 hours. That was since they got you off the toilet, got you into the bed, because it had all calmed down, and it had been 5 hours and it was only 2 centimetres.
It had been 5 hours and I was only 2 centimetres.
Yeah, so it was very disheartening again.
That was a bit like what it was with Talia, wasn't it? So they lowered the dose and gave me, I'm just reading what I put. They lowered the dose and gave me the epidural for the pain, and then monitored the oxytocin so they would be more regular and consistent. In the meantime we got rest. So I had my epidural quite early on then.
Yeah, but it's still been a long time. It's still like...
I love the epidural. But like a lot of people are so like nervous to have that, but and obviously there is a lot of like risky things to have. Like it's not like ideal, but that and gas and air, I feel like that just it's worked on both my labours now. So I put that the contractions fell off a bit. They upped the dose of oxytocin as my body was getting used to it, and then my contractions started coming for every 10 minutes or whatever it is they like. So it was just
1 in 10,
yeah. So yeah, that was basically...
I think actually they were coming 4 in 10 and then they dropped off a little bit.
They were like 2 or 3 in 10 I think, and then they put the oxytocin back up and they... Yeah, so that was pretty much my labour. Otherwise I laboured with gas and air pretty much from the start. From the start, when the pain started getting worse, and then had the epidural too. I had that with Talia, those 2 things.
Yeah, a minute.
So yeah, I kept it pretty much the same with that.
Mommy.
Yeah.
This.
Wow, what have you got?
That's a teepee. Mine.
It's more like a den. I've put the you had a nap and snacked on beef jerky.
Mommy,
Top tip for second time parents, because
Beef jerky.
we the first time just snacked on like sweets and just like energy stuff, didn't we? And then this time round you were like, I feel like I need some meat or something that's a bit more.
Yeah.
He still when I had the epidural, he still wanted, like, you felt like faint, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that happened the first time round as well. When I was actually pushing, one of the midwives gave me a towel to pull, and the midwife was like pushing. I actually saw that come up on my Facebook the other day. So in the room, when I was actually like pushing him out, I had my midwife Heidi, who was my midwife for Talia. My midwife Katie, for this time round, wasn't actually there, but it was nice having Heidi because she'd like gone through my first pregnancy with me, so it was nice that she could actually be there for one of my births. But she was like telling me, like, if you don't want to do this, like, don't do it. And the other midwife was like, no, try. And I don't know, I feel like it was just overwhelming. I think at that point it's when I told you to shut the F up.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't know anything. But I think I was just so overwhelmed. I hit him. I didn't do that with Talia. But I think I was just so overwhelmed by like different things going on that I was just like, ah. Yeah, they tried putting my hands onto the handles of the bed, but I was so hot and sweaty I just couldn't do it. And so this time round, because it was only 15 hours compared to Talia's labour that was 56, I feel like I was so aware of like everything that was going on. Like with Talia, I was so mentally, physically exhausted, I think, that I had no idea what was going on. But like this time round, like I remember the midwives coming in, I remember like, I just remember everything, and even pushing, which just seems so, I don't know, it's like, is it surreal? Like it's just like, just remembering what it's like to push, I don't know. Feels weird, but I didn't remember that at all with Talia. I remember telling them like, I can't do this, and they were like, you can, you're doing it, and I was like, no.
I tried it, Mommy.
Wow. Oh, well done, Talia.
And the tattoo.
Yeah, we've been looking for that for ages. I remember just being like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And they were like, you're doing it, you can. But I think because I physically like could feel him coming out, like I don't know if this is TMI, but is this like mum's watching? But I remember like I felt like they had their fingers like up, and I was just like, I can't do this, I can't do this. I thought like they were doing something to me, but it was actually him coming out, and it was his head.
Yeah, you thought they were like pulling you apart. It's like, what are they doing down there? Tell them to get off me. And I was like, they're not on you.
And it was just, yeah. And then I wasn't convinced he was coming, and Chris took a picture, which obviously not going to show you guys, but it's just weird being able to look back at that. I don't know. I had a much better birth experience this time around than what I did with Talia, even though he pooed inside me and was like, they were like, he needs to be out. But like my whole experience, I feel like was nicer with him. But also that could be because I'm a second time mum, so it's not like when you're a first time mum you have no idea what to expect. I knew what to expect. I'd done this before, my body had done this before, so I feel like I was like more relaxed. I feel like I could enjoy it a bit better. So yeah, he was born at 1:24 on the 23rd of November, which was, wait, how many days is that before your birthday? 6 days before Chris's birthday, so November's a good month.
You got the other book in there as well.
So that is my birth story. Chris, have I got anything else to say? Have I missed out anything for the birth part?
No.
It was, I feel like it was a straightforward birth, to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
apart from the meconium, I feel like we didn't really have any like trouble. Like apart from me dilating, which was just basically a summary of just them ramping up the oxytocin, taking it down, bringing it back up.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like, it was basically that. My body get used to it. Gas and an epidural, and 15 hours later, he was here. Oh wait, it couldn't have been a day because it was 15 hours.
Oh yeah, because they don't. Active labour is from 4
centimetres.
So
yeah.
it took you until 10 o'clock to get to 4 centimetres, and then yeah.
So yeah, that was that. I thought in this I would talk about postpartum, as well, because I feel like this is always interesting. Postpartum. We had to stay in hospital for 12 hours because of the meconium, and they like to monitor the baby. We went in on the Friday afternoon. We went in on the Friday. I had him on the Saturday. We had to stay 12 hours, which came to the Sunday. The Saturday after I had Huxy, we got moved to a postnatal ward, which I specifically said, like the whole pregnancy, I don't want that, which was really irritating. Like, I didn't have any requests about like labour or anything. It was just, I'm an anxious person and wanted to have my own space. And they were like, there's nothing they can do, which is fair enough. So yeah, we had Pizza Express for dinner because Chris thought that that was like the only night we were going to be in there, so it was like splash out. And we ended up staying in there for another 2 nights, didn't we?
You're just going to do the fake laugh, you're going to say something, say hello.
Hello. Look, I put in my tire. I show my tire.
But yeah, Pizza Express. We live in a village, so we don't get the luxuries of, is it a luxury? Of like a good variety of takeouts. And yeah, when we could have like Pizza Express, we were like, yeah, let's do it. Chris was like, I'm so hungry, so I'm gonna get like a massive 2,000 calorie pizza, wasn't it? And I was like, oh, I've just had a baby, like I'm not really sure how I'm feeling. I'll just get like a small pizza and mozzarella sticks. And Chris left, like, you got chicken wings as well, and like left it all, didn't you? And you're like, I'm so tired.
Yeah, I started eating and I was like, I can't, I'm too tired. It took so long.
And I just devoured mine basically.
And I thought, oh, we're going in the morning, so it's alright, I'll just take it home, reheat it.
We didn't go in the morning, spoiler alert. So it was like 11 o'clock and they were like Chris needs to go. And that was my worst nightmare because I don't know, like I just panic. I've got anxiety, like I didn't want Chris to leave. And like if you really had to, I feel like we really found this out after being in hospital with Hux. Like if you really had to, I don't think I would have been that upset, but just the initial thought, I was like, no. So I got really emotional, and like the weather was really bad as well, wasn't it, at this point? So we'd gone from like snow on the Thursday to like the Saturday, it was like torrential rain, like there was floods everywhere. It was like torrential rain, and it was just like, basically our family were advising us not to come home in like the dark because like it was just so crazy basically. Chris had like 4 hours sleep, and when they were like, he used to go, I was like, he's had 4 hours sleep, like the weather's bad. It's a tea, but yes, hot drink. Yeah. They managed to find us a labour room with like a massive water birth pool thing, and we're like, you can go in there, but if anyone obviously needs to labour, they'll need the room and he'll have to go. And I was like, that's fine, that was fair enough, like I don't mind that. And if it meant that he got a little bit extra sleep, then he got a little bit extra sleep. And we ended up, they basically left us in there for the whole day, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like their system, Badger, went down, and we were meant to, they were like, they came in the morning, we were like, there's 9 people or something, wasn't there? 7 people, they've got a discharge. We're one of them, so they'll make their way round and then they'll do us and we can go home. We were like, great. And then it got to like, it was dark, so it must be like 4 or 5 o'clock, and they were like, Badger's gone down, it will have to be tomorrow now. So that was annoying. However, they let us have our own like private room, didn't they? So they tried discharging us at like 4 o'clock. By the time they'd come round, apologised that Badger had gone down, and we were like, well, our families basically advised us to stay in. It's dark outside now, the rain's really bad.
There's floods everywhere,
there's
trees
floods
down.
Yeah, floods everywhere, trees down. Like literally in the UK, how it can go from that, from like snow on the Thursday to this on the Saturday is insane. Obviously we had no idea either because we were just in hospital, and I feel like it's a whole different world when you're in hospital because like you don't leave the rooms, like, so yeah. But we were like, we've been advised to stay, like, yeah, the roads are bad, trees down, blah, 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 blah. And they found us our own little room. And in that other room, Chris had his own bed, we had our bed. And it was
but every time I lied down on the bed, it kept moving and like going up. I think it was broken.
Did you just stop?
No.
Yeah, so Chris's bed was broken, but he did get his own bed and you did get some sleep, didn't you? So that's a bonus. We ended up getting discharged early Monday afternoon, which was nice, but I said this in my last vlog. I filmed.
Mommy, look.
Oh no, are you okay?
Is it better?
Do we give it a kiss? Mwah.
Mommy.
Hello, darling. So, what was I gonna say?
Mommy, I take a picture.
This is just my life. I feel like this is a very chaotic
Mommy.
labour story. Cheese. Yeah, so in my last vlog I mentioned, like, obviously my hospital bag I packed for 5 nights, and even you, Chris, were like, this is ridiculous, like, why do I need 5 nights like worth of stuff? And we ended up being in there for four days. So like, we actually did need most of that stuff, which is just hilarious. Yeah. In the meantime, Talia had been with my mum since Friday, which we've never left Talia, so I was a bit nervous about that, but I feel like if I wasn't having a baby I would have been a lot worse, but because I was like a bit preoccupied, I didn't.
We have left her, we just never left her overnight.
Yeah, but we've only started leaving her since I was 20 weeks pregnant, and then yeah, we just thought it'd be like a night or something, and ended up being 3 nights and 4 days. And Talia didn't really miss us, did she? Like, we spoke to her every day, didn't care that we weren't there, which is really nice because it meant that we could be more relaxed and not have to think like, oh, Talia misses us or whatever. It definitely made it a lot easier. She was with my mum, so it wasn't someone like she didn't know, but I think just the thought of leaving her for that long, and I thought that we wouldn't have to do that again. And then we ended up, how old was Hux when we went to hospital? 3 weeks, I think he was. Yeah. When Hux was 3 weeks old, we ended up having to stay in hospital again, which is like, I just felt really bad because I didn't want to leave Talia again, but then you do what you do for your babies, don't you? In regards to pain after birth, everyone said that the pain that you get with your second birth is worse than your first, and I was like, that's reassuring, like, that's good to know after you've had the baby. They always say that like you just sort of bounce back, and I feel like with your first you milk it because you can, but then like second time round, like you've got another baby, like, or you've got a toddler, child, whatever, like you can't just mope around, and you just go down with it. So I feel like that's pretty much what I did. Yeah, so I did feel really good after birth. I did have like hip pain, which I feel like that was my most like severe kind of problem. Like, everything else was fine. And when I spoke to like my midwife and stuff, my health visitor, they were like, were your feet in stirrups? Which they were. And just sleeping in hospital beds, like, it's not very comfy, so like that could have been the reason why my hip was hurting so much. And obviously we was in hospital for like 4 days, so I was just sat in a bed for 4 days. Day 9, I feel like that was the worst, that was my worst time for the pain. I couldn't wee either, which was not nice. I asked a midwife who I should call, and she told me to go to the hospital, the day assessment unit, and when I called them they were like, that's not our problem anymore because you're 9 days postpartum. So I ended up calling the doctor, and I ended up over like 2 or 3 weeks taking 3 wee samples and just a load of back and forth trying to work out what was wrong, basically. Like, the first time I called the doctors, they were like, we need to come in, bring a wee sample, and I was like, well, if I could wee then that would be a good start, but I couldn't, so I had to go back in, and it was just, yeah, it was a whole lot of back and forth. What did they actually say was wrong in the end? The doctors called me on like the Wednesday and were like, basically, we have a problem, like, you've got an infection, but we don't want to give you antibiotics unless you need to. And I was like, that's fair enough. So they basically like done another check, put the sample in like a petri dish to like overnight to just see what it was, and didn't get back to me. On the Saturday that week, my midwife called me and was like, yeah, like, you've got an infection. I was like, well, why didn't the doctors get hold of me then if I've got an infection? Yeah, I had it for a while, had antibiotics for like 5 days, which is when we ended up being in hospital with Hux, and I don't know if that was like linked or not, or whether it was just a coincidence, but he ended up getting like a high temperature and everything, and because he's under 3 months old, like, they treat that really seriously, so we had to stay in overnight to be checked. Result of that, it could have been bacteria from wearing a pad and like wee and stuff, I don't really know, but yeah, that was that. So yeah, I don't think I've got much else to say apart from I was just going to talk about his weight gain. So he born at 7'9", and then day 5 he went up to 8'2", and then he was 8'12" on day 10, and then day 19 he was like 10 pounds. So he like, yeah, like he had such a good weight gain. They were actually like surprised, I think, because normally they like drop a little bit of birth weight to begin with, but he didn't, which was good. He was a little bit jaundicey, but nothing too concerning. And I think that is everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you've got any questions about this, then let me know in the comments. I hope I've included everything. I think I have. And yeah, I'll see you in another vlog very, very soon.
You're all right. You just do this one backwards. Contractions are getting, your mum said yes. Contractions are getting closer.
Right, we'll just pop that over on this side, just because I know you can. Sliding this across a bit.
I'm not going to cut the finish in front of the baby. So, when do you want to start trying?
Hold on a second.
Harry, Matt.
What a funny episode.